I once spent my nights reading this book, 0 to 1. Competition is for losers. Don't compete, monopolize. Coming from the legendary Silicon Valley investor Peter Thiel, these messages felt like gospel. They gave me hope that I too could change the world. But years later, I learned a shocking truth: that the author of this very book had waged a secret decade-long war to destroy a media company. And I became conflicted. Could what I believed to be the clear-eyed advice of a great innovator actually be part of a much more dangerous and much larger plan? What is the line between a grand vision and a dangerous vendetta? I decided to dig into the truth to find out for myself.
In the summer of 2016, an office in Manhattan, New York, closed its doors forever. It was the final day for Gawker, the provocative online media outlet that once struck fear into the hearts of giants in Silicon Valley and on Wall Street. The official cause of death was a lawsuit lost to the professional wrestler Hulk Hogan, a staggering $140 million judgment under which Gawker simply collapsed. But behind this story was a deep, unanswered question. Hulk Hogan was long retired and facing financial difficulties. So how, exactly, could he afford a legal team of the highest caliber to wage a relentless court battle? Where did the money come from? Behind it all was the author of that very book, Peter Thiel. To erase the media outlet that had insulted him 9 years prior, he had quietly sharpened his knives for a decade, pouring $13 million into orchestrating a perfect revenge plot. This was not a simple act of personal vengeance. It was the first time the dangerous philosophy of a man who divides the world into us and them, into friends and enemies, was revealed to the public. And his real plan was just getting started. Everyone has an enemy. Baseless criticism directed at you, a colleague who steals your ideas, a massive competitor blocking your path. Most people get frustrated, ignore it, or fight back until they're exhausted. That's reality. But Peter Thiel is different. He doesn't tolerate the existence of an enemy. For him, an enemy must be completely and permanently eliminated from his world. But why? What is the logic operating inside his mind? It all goes back to 2007. Gawker published an article with the headline, "Peter Thiel is totally gay, people." At the time, Thiel had not publicly come out. This was a clear case of outing, a violent intrusion into his personal life. Thiel would later say, Gawker was not a journalistic enterprise. They were a singularly sociopathic bully. In his mind, Gawker was now defined as an enemy to be eliminated, not a counterpart for debate or competition. Herein lies a dangerous intellectual clue to his thinking. A century ago, a political philosopher who would later become infamous for collaborating with the Nazis once said, "The specific political distinction can be reduced to that between friend and enemy." His name was Carl Schmitt. Schmitt believed this distinction, not between good and evil or beautiful and ugly, was the most fundamental instinct of any human group. For Peter Thiel, business and life are not sports governed by fair rules. Just like the philosopher said, they are a brutal battlefield where only two things exist: friends who follow his vision and enemies who block his path and must be removed. Gawker wasn't the only casualty on his battlefield. In 2013, a small company called Copycat Inc. offered a social media analytics service. The problem was, their service was similar to a company Thiel had invested in. Thiel's company immediately sued Copycat for patent infringement. Copycat fought desperately, arguing its technology was unique, but they were up against Peter Thiel's immense financial power. Worn down by years of legal battles, they lost everything and shut down. In the language of the market, it was losing to the competition. But in Peter Thiel's worldview, it was simply another enemy successfully eliminated. If you were the founder of Copycat, could you call that a fair competition?
Amazingly, this dangerous philosophy became a kind of gospel of innovation for entrepreneurs worldwide through his book 0 to 1, which was based on his lectures at Stanford. Its core message is shockingly simple and alluring. Don't compete. Competition is a bloody war where both winners and losers are left wounded. Destroy competition, create a new market where none existed, and become its king, a monopoly. He compares competitive markets to a red ocean and monopolistic markets to a blue ocean. The message to not fight over doing the same thing slightly better, but to create something entirely new, to go from 0 to 1, electrified countless young minds. And then he whispers to us, monopoly is good. Look at Google. Freed from intense competition, they can afford to take on long-term challenges for humanity's future, like self-driving cars and AI. Only monopolies can change the world. But right here lies his most subtle and dangerous trap. This is not a gift to humanity. It is a declaration demanding the right to break the rules. Let's summon that philosopher Carl Schmitt one last time. Schmitt defined the sovereign as he who decides on the exception. In normal times, the sovereign pretends to follow the law, but when a crisis threatens the state's survival, he can declare a state of exception and ignore all rules, including the Constitution. The great monopolies Peter Thiel describes are the modern sovereigns of technology who reign above the laws of the market and social contracts. For them, innovation is the master key that unlocks any rule. They use convenience as a reason to take our private data and the future of humanity as a justification to avoid all social responsibility. To them, the state is no longer a feared authority, but merely a partner to be negotiated with or ignored.
Media outlets, rival companies, but these were just sparring partners, small obstacles to be removed. Would you believe it if I told you that the ultimate enemy Peter Thiel sought to eliminate was something else entirely? In his view, the most gigantic obstacle to innovation, the entity that wastes the money of smart people through taxes, the most inefficient group holding back the world's progress, is the government, our entire democratic system. This is not just a metaphor or a critique. He takes real action. He invested millions in seasteading, a project to build independent nations at sea, free from the control of any government. He passionately supports cryptocurrencies, a new form of money that governments cannot control or create at will. The data analytics firm he co-founded, Palantir, serves clients like the CIA and the Department of Defense, handling the state's data while simultaneously becoming a sharp blade that can monitor and analyze the state itself. His revenge plot didn't end with bankrupting a media company. His real plan might be to neutralize the very system of the state that we all stand on, and to become the emperor of a new, borderless digital empire.
The world designed by Peter Thiel is clear and efficient. A world led by a powerful genius with a vision. But in that world, there is no room for enemies, for those who hold different opinions. In contrast, Socrates wandered the agora of Athens 2,400 years ago, endlessly asking questions of those who disagreed with him. What is justice? What is a good life? It was an inefficient, noisy process, but that was the very essence of democracy. Which world should we choose? Will we follow a powerful king who decides everything for us, or will we continue the noisy debate? Ultimately, this question comes back to me. I too am struggling every day to survive in the competitive world of YouTube. Should I follow Thiel's path of winner take all, or the path of Socrates to ask questions together with more people? I suppose the name of this channel is my answer. There was another genius who, like Thiel, distrusted the state, but offered the opposite solution. an anonymous genius who designed a world that doesn't need a king at all, Satoshi Nakamoto. Will you trust a single genius, or will you trust a system that requires no trust at all? We'll explore this most critical choice of our time in the next video, The Last Question Satoshi Nakamoto Left for Humanity. Please leave your thoughts in the comments and click the screen now to continue this debate about our future.